The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild's sheer freedom and sense of an adventure is a remarkable achievement. Right from the start, the vast landscape of Hyrule is thrown completely open to you, and it constantly finds ways to pique your curiosity with mysterious landmarks, complex hidden puzzles, and enemy camps to raid for treasure and weapons. The fact that you can tackle any one of these things at your own pace and almost never get pulled to the main path is liberating. But the way all of Breath of the Wild system fits elegantly into a complex light survival game is even more impressive. I've been running around for over 50 hours already, and I still have plenty of mysteries left to tackle, to track down, and lots of wonderfully crafted puzzles to solve. I am in awe of the scope and scale of this adventure, and often I find myself counting the hours until I can get back in. The untamed post-apocalyptic fantasy land of Hyrule is the main character of Breath of the Wild. Not only it is vast, beautiful, and filled with a diverse set of locations from grassy fields to alpine mountains, but it follows surprisingly realistic rules that let you pull off solutions that you might be surprised they actually work. The tree bears fruits, grass fields can be set ablaze, and even enemies and animals behave in unbelievable manners, based on the skittish and aggressive reaction I've seen in the wild. But the realistic touches don't end there. Each object you encounter, from sticks to apples to rocks and metallic blocks, is made of a material, and those materials usually respond to force like fire and magnetism as you would expect it in the real world. It's all set up surprisingly fun and responsive sandbox to interact with, and one I have really seen executed so well in an action-adventure game like Zelda. If you think something should work, it usually would. And that led me to all kinds of fun and hilarious experimentation. You can stand under an apple tree with a torch and bake the fruit into a quick healing snack before you even pick it, or drop a metal sword in front of a weaponless enemy and watch it get fried by a bolt of lightning. Meanwhile, Link needs warmer clothes to survive the cold. It's constantly amazing to learn how all of these systems interact with each other while you play through the game. But what elevates Breath of the Wild above its open world content is its sheer freedom, both in its non-linear quest structure and in your ability to climb almost any surface you want and travel in any direction once you leave the starting area. It's in the heart of what makes this action-adventure game truly special and addictive. Like many open world games, it delivers on the implied promise that you can see it out in the distance. Chances are you can eventually reach it, and one that never gets old. For instance, an island far off the coast of the mainland was just out of my reach for the first several hours until I upgraded my abilities. Finally reached there was a great twist that blew my mind, including finding an easier alternative route that I missed earlier. The paraglider is easily one of the most useful tools in the Breath of the Wild because it is so versatile. You can use it effortlessly to glide across the lakes and gaps or ride up drafts into new areas, and I often use each long trip across the map as a way to scan the horizon in search for clues and brainstorms on what I need to do next. From the overhead, you get a glimpse of what's even more evident from the ground. Each individual area has its own ecology and ecosystem. If you can glide into a chilly mountain, you will freeze to death before you hit the ground. Going in with the right equipment makes all the difference in the world in this game. As you continue to improve Link's stamina meter and skill set, you can reach even more of these very locations. Random events like rain and thunderstorms slow down your movements across slick surfaces, and dangerous lightning bolts can strike with little warning if you are wearing any metals. Additionally, the day and light cycle is constantly running and makes meaningful differences. Nightmares bring monsters that spring up from the ground. It's easier to spot some useful bugs and plants, and other secrets that are best divorced for yourself. These are constant reminders that you're always at the mercy of the world and Mother Nature itself. Yet, there are still plenty of scenery and beauty spread throughout the gorgeous and tantalizing landscapes. In these moments, subtle music cue match the tempo of the adventure, swaying between playful piano melodies and ambient sound of wildlife. In the foreground, Breath of the Wild's anime-inspired art style is colorful, remarkably lively, and beautifully animated. But it comes at the cost of brief frame rate hiccups and object popping that's most noticeable when you're playing the Switch in TV mode, where it renders at 900p, and when there are a lot of physics particle effects flying around the screen. The issues are less frequent playing on the portable mode of the 720p screen. But regardless of where you play, the performance problem will never significantly sour the gameplay. Performance on the Wii U version is roughly the same as the Switch, although it's important to note that it renders at 720p. This makes the game run a little more visible and lighting appears slightly different. Otherwise, it looks good on the Wii U just as well as on the Switch. Unlike a lot of survival games in which every item you use must be created from trees or dug up from minerals, Breath of the Wild focuses on its crafting system on cooking. It's light and flexible system that offers lots of opportunity for experimenting with different ingredient combinations to help you survive. Raw food and quick and dirty snacks cooked by fire will replenish a small amount of health, but the most interesting and stats boosting dishes come from tossing ingredients into a pot to make a hearty meal. I spent many hours figuring out the best recipe by using clues noted in the ingredient description to come out with effects like stamina boost and elemental resistance of various potencies. And I love that whenever I got a little carried away with my recipe, I ended up with a censor-out dish appropriately called dubious food that are apparently too disgusting to even look at. In summary, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a masterclass in open-world design and a watershed game that reinvents a 30-year-old franchise. It represents a wonderful sandbox full of mystery, dangling dozens upon dozens of tantalizing things in front of you that just beg to be explored. I have had so many adventures in the Breath of the Wild, and each one has a unique story behind them, making them stories on top of stories and more. Even after 50 hours of gameplay, searching the far reaches of Hyrule and beyond, I still managed to come across things I had never seen before. I'll probably spend another 50 to 100 hours trying to track down all the fascinating moments and discovering all the little hidden treasures across the world of Hyrule. Breath of the Wild is a masterpiece that will definitely last the test of time.